Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 51. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Book Insight Friday. We're still continuing with the World We Live In series, and we're up to the World We Live In Part 4. So let's get started. Now, when it was time for me to write the World We Live In Part 4, in my mind, it was, how do I write something new, fresh, and different? All of these characters have important people in their lives, whether it be their parents, kids, spouse, significant other, and I wanted to incorporate them into the series. Now, I took a different approach to writing part 4 in not just having the characters telling their stories and where they are mentally and emotionally in their lives, but writing letters to the people that are important to them. Now, I still wrote it in a prose format, and I wanted to bring out the emotional side of these characters and the people that are important to them. Now, it was a fun way to go in a different direction with it. I thought of the idea, based off of the letters I have between Gary and Gary Jr. in the Code Blue series, and the letters that I kind of did between Robert and Michael and how they shared their thoughts in the Struggles and Growth of a Man series. Now, I just had to add a little bit more emotion and feeling to these letters in this series, and I had to make the letters heartfelt. And I had every intention on making sure that these characters expressed themselves in ways that were positive. And, there were some characters that were a little negative, but it depends on what their life situation was and what they have experienced. And I knew I had intentions of a surprise for part 5, and that will, be shared next week in the last part of the series of this. But the emotional toll was at its peak with writing part 4. And I knew that it was time for me to, really go full-fledged, change up the series, go in a different direction, and do it in hopes of keeping readers engaged. And with 19 characters, after a while, you've written so much of a storyline. You've written what they're dealing with and going through, the aftermath of what they're dealing with, emotions, feelings, and things that they're going through. And after all of that, you have to think to yourself, okay, how do I move the series forward, and how do I make sure that the book series stays appealing and engaging. So I had a little fun with it. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I mean, it's the goal of, me writing a lot of these books. It's hard to write a lot of these books, so I have to make it fun for me. And I also have to challenge myself. And that was something that I definitely wanted to do for part 4 and part 5, because as I said last week, if you, were able to listen to last week's podcast in regards to Book Insight Friday and the World We Live in part 3, I talked about how part 3 of pretty much every series that I write is the transitional phase of things. Struggles and Growth of a Man was transitional to where Michael came home and Robert had to adjust to life, having him, and Code Blue 3, it was transitional in, Gary's life and certain cases that he was dealing with, and he was starting to get to a place where he was ready to start talking. The Kids with Guns series, I would say part 3, yes, part 3 was the trial of Matthew and Max, so that was transitional in that aspect. So I would be remiss to say that every part 3 of every 5-book series that I've written to date has a transitional phase to it. Now, will that happen in the future with other books? Possibly, but when you move into part 4, now there's always a shift for me in the series to where characters are starting to really show who they really are and where they are mentally and emotionally. And part 4 of The World We Live In was something that I was able to do and accomplish, and hopefully readers are able to understand why I did what I did. And I knew that I would feel good writing it the way that I did. So what I want to say is if and when you get to that point of reading part 4 of the series, you'll understand where I'm going, and what I'm trying to accomplish. Now, I do get asked the question of whether I'm going to record audiobooks for the World We Live In series. At this point in time, no, I'm not. It's the longest book series that I've written. It's the most characters. It's the most emotional. And for me to write it, it was emotional. So to record audiobooks, wow, that would take a lot out of me. So I think this is one book series where there may not be audio. I'm not going to close the door on that. There's potential in the future for maybe having an audiobook version of it, but stay tuned for that because I have so many other books that I have to get done in regards to audiobooks. I have to finish 2 book series currently, and then I have to move on to another book series and some standalones, things of that nature. But anyway, don't want to delve off of the topic, don't want to divert too much, but what I want to say is part 4 will be good. Some will be writing to their significant others, some will be writing to their parents, some will be writing to their foster parents, some won't even write letters at all because they don't have anyone to write to. So some are writing to girlfriends, some are writing to husbands or wives or kids. There is a character that's writing to her kids. And I'm quite sure you can guess who I'm mentioning since I have mentioned that character numerous times in podcasts. So I don't want to sit here and give away part 4, but I pretty much gave you a really good synopsis of it in audio format. Not even the synopsis of part 4. If you see it on any bookstore website that I have it on, you won't even get it the way I'm saying it right now. So, I would say count your blessings on that because I really don't give away my books too much. I give you just enough to kind of keep you intrigued, and that's always the goal, and that's what I want it to be at all times. So that's pretty much what I have done with part 4, and it's going to be a good one. I will say that. It's a roller coaster ride, the whole series, but it calms down a little bit more and you get to relax a little bit for part 4. That I will say. So that's pretty much my podcast for today. I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for continually listening to my podcast week after week. I'm trying to get consistent with posting, some podcasts, and the next few weeks will be pretty good. And I know that I have intentions on recording and posting podcasts until I would say about mid-December, and then I'm going to kind of shut it down for the rest of the year because I will be traveling to go see family, and I will not be carrying all of this audio gear to record. And plus, it will be the holidays, and in reality, I've done this every year where I have kind of said sayonara and came back in January and started fresh. I need to recalibrate my brain. So anyway, that's pretty much it for me for today. Have a good weekend. Be productive. Stay safe. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.